So many different words could have been used in the sentence and it would have been fine. Or even just an additional word in a free black man, you know?
Yeah.
So
Then we wouldn't have blinked an eye in the way that, like, it made me stop when I was reading. Happy birthday.
comma Felicity.
Happy birthday.
Comma Felicity.
Welcome back.
Comma to American Girl Talk.
A show where if you're reading a book about a birthday, it's probably not about a birthday at all.
A birthday is probably the last thought of the book.
A birthday is a concept.
And you know, it's more of just an excuse to sell the merchandise of a birthday dress, and B, a birthday animal, which will never be mentioned again.
Yeah, well, birthday animals are relevant. Also, birthday animals, living animals, great gift for children.
Yeah, who doesn't want to give a 9-year-old a livestock?
Yeah, we actually never learned the moral of the lesson, which is stop giving children living animals for their birthdays.
It's interesting. The birthday books are... I can't decide if I think the birthday books or the lesson books are usually the most meh for me.
They're evening out.
Yeah.
In this case, the lesson book winning.
Yeah.
While I did enjoy this book, I have some qualms.
Some qualms.
And we'll get there.
Yeah, of course.
But honestly, I think we could jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it, guys. Let's keep us all on our toes today. Just as we discussed off mic, we're just your two friends you're yapping with on a walk, talking about American Girls.
You trying to get 10K steps? Put us on right now.
And sometimes we like warm up a little bit. Sometimes we just go right into the walk. And today we're just walking in.
Sometimes, as I always say, why bother stretching?
Exactly. What, are you going to get tendinitis? You see?
Are you going to take care of your body? Are you going to age gracefully and with strength?
You can do not break your Achilles tendon during an adult kickball game.
Oh, what? Bone density is an increasing thing of concern for women as they age?
Grow up. Grow down. Be an American girl
Grow
again.
down. Get rid of those muscles. Let them atrophy.
Get those kitty muscles back in shape.
So anyway, chapter 1. Springtime promises. Because if you'll remember, a birthday book is really a springtime book.
I do want to say, just as we're getting through Felicity now.
Indeed.
The best chapter names were in Kirsten's.
Yeah.
Because
they were so simple.
And they were like the way that we talk to each other. Like we said, there's like lost, run, dead,
found,
bear,
snowstorm.
I liked the simplicity.
The Felicity.
The Felicities are pretty good, but they're a little bit colonial, which
they're very literal.
But, yeah.
In like not a fun way.
Like doom and shadows.
Crazy. I'm just going to post that chapter title when I'm like feeling low on my IG story from now on. And be like, no context.
I'm going to post the photo of Mother dying.
Who up relating?
Next time I'm hungover, I'm going to post the photo of Mother dying.
That one's real. It's me to me. Get up out of bed, Celia. I won't let you die.
I'm going to be mom and Felicity's going to be the bottle of root beer keeping me alive.
the emergency ginger ale I have in my cupboard at all times.
So chapter 1.
Yes, indeed. It's spring cleaning time. We've jumped right ahead. Okay, we ended the last one like January 7th.
Yeah.
Almost a bad day.
Past a bad day.
Past a bad day.
But guess who's storming buildings in spring instead of January?
Well, I guess we'll have to wait to find out. They're cleaning it up. Everybody's doing their share. Yapping, scrubbing, dubbing. William's kind of fucking around. He's not being that helpful. But he is a child. So
such as a child to do.
Reasonable. And there's a visitor coming soon. Grandfather.
Straight from the plantation.
Yeah. And there's some implications in this book. Whoops. But Felicity's birthday's coming up. And by coming up, it's like in a month.
Yeah.
Which I relate to. She's very excited about. And she's like, well, since grandfather will be visiting during my birthday, maybe we could have a little party.
Like, she's like, can we just like maybe eat my favorite meal and have my favorite cakes? It's very Kirsten coded in. We don't have to do anything, but can we just like at least acknowledge the day?
Yeah, it's like a cute, like, I did wonder a little if grandfather wasn't visiting, like, what was the plan?
I think nothing really.
Yeah, just like maybe a treat.
Giving her like a tighter girdle.
Yeah. Laser corset, one size tighter this time. So, she's just like, yeah, could I have a little treat and maybe put some flowers in the parlor for me, a girl? And her mom's like, maybe. But like, yeah, basically. But her mom says she's always getting ahead of herself. Her birthday is like several weeks away. Grandfather's visit, several days. Her birthday, several weeks. And I said, she's not getting ahead of herself to me. I relate as somebody who's already planning my birthday for next year. I said, also, as a spring baby, I've arbitrarily decided that she has the same birthday as me. Isn't having free will amazing? But I wrote that note before I got to the later part of the book, in which it actually outright tells you her birthday is April 21st. And mine is the 1st.
So what is her astrological sign?
I think it makes her a Taurus.
I think you're right. It's not Aries, because you're Aries.
Yes.
And she's the second half of the month.
She is a Taurus. April 20. She might be a cuspy, because this says it spans approximately April 20th to May 20th. So she's kissing it, which makes sense that she'd be an Aries cuspy.
Ooh, I like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it checks out.
I need to know her rising and her moon sign.
Yeah, we're gonna need
before I can make a full assessment.
Yeah, we're gonna need to know the time and
We know the
exact
place.
location. That's true. We do know the place.
Williamsburg, Virginia.
Yes, ma'am.
All
I
right.
feel like we could sketch it out.
We'll do it later.
Yeah. You guys, if you want to see that, leave us a comment.
See all 4 of the girls so far's birth charts.
Maybe we can do that for our next Two Hens Clucking.
Okay, yeah, we can.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
We're gonna have to figure out where in Sweden though. That one might be
Yeah, we
hard.
just drop a pin arbitrarily.
All right, we'll do it.
Yeah. They're talking though about grandfather and like Felicity says like she is so excited to have like a springtime birthday, whatever, blah blah. Lots of things to talk about. And she's taller, and William's taller, and everybody's getting older. They have so many things and changes to show grandfather when he comes.
Changes for grandfather.
Changes for grandfather. And also, oh my gosh, grandfather has never met Ben.
We gotta introduce Grandpapa to Ben.
Ooh, but one thing. Maybe we're all a little worried that Ben is gonna run his little patriot mouth.
That liberal snowflake Ben.
Yeah.
Local boy in town.
Yeah, local 13 and or 15-year-old might run his mouth.
And I kind of was like, I kind of relate to this as someone who has dated people that are more liberal than my parents and been like, hell, I ever meet them, but it's never gotten that far, so don't worry. They've never had to meet them.
Don't worry, guys.
Don't worry, we've always broken up before.
I haven't had to deal with it. You've seen it through to fruition. Yeah.
No, I jest, as you say. But I did get the kind of like, ooh, how do we temper both these personalities? How do I, as a people pleaser, how do I keep the peace in a household torn apart by strife and politic?
Yeah, one real notion.
With a K.
Here. Yeah. But yeah, so they kind of brush it under the table, basically. But Felicity's very concerned about it privately in her head. And then she goes like, well, do you think grandfather's going to be upset about that we don't drink tea? And her mom's like, ha ha ha, who doesn't love hot chocolate?
We've got plenty of chocolate. I'm
Anyway,
like, how much hot chocolate is this family drinking?
I feel like they replaced every tea option in their store with some variety of chocolate.
Their teeth must be rotted out of their heads.
Disgusting. 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 1,000,000%. They are the stinkiest, grossest people in the world.
Just sweating chocolate.
Oh, yeah. And fat.
Hog fat.
Just hot fat all the time. Out of their pores, in their pores. Stinky. And her mom's had enough of talking about such nonsense things, so she shoos her off.
Stuff and nonsense.
Stuff and nonsense.
Which someone does say in this book, which is one of my favorite things.
Good. And then we're back on the wearing a hat agenda. Her mom's like, put that hat on, otherwise your nose will get pink. And Felicity's like, ha, ha, ha. Anyway, bye. So then she goes off to meet Elizabeth at the Whites stables.
Which they say like we should know who the Whites are. We've never met them
Are they the
before.
same thing?
They're like, it's at the Whites stable. I'm like, we've never heard those people
I'm
in
like,
our
oh, we're
lives.
just lore dropping new neighbors. And they have a horse that has a new little colt.
So the horse girls gather. Where all horse girls shall.
It's pretty cute. And Elizabeth's like, do that special whistle and bring the horse over here. So seems like she learned how to whistle.
We didn't get to see it.
Fucking A. It should have been like, Felicity did the whistle Ben taught her how to do. And I would have liked that more.
And she went whip.
Woo, woo, woo. And the horsey came over.
And they let the horsey lick.
It's pretty cute and kind of gross.
Yeah.
But I get
They're
it.
about to go serve tea to each other.
Yeah, they're about to go do their lessons. So they come to go to the lessons. Oh, also they talk about Penny.
Yeah, so Penny's name dropped again. So Penny's coming back next book. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Folks.
Mr. Ed.
Oh, God, what a show. When I was little, I watched every episode of that
I've
show.
never seen it.
Oh, it's incredible. What a psycho concept for a show where you have to literally have a real horse.
It's
on
gonna
screen all
be
the
like
time.
the episode that you guys just watched of American Girl Talk where my camera failed again. And it's just American Girl doll Caroline.
It's Celia talking to a doll.
Yeah.
For
It's kind of the same thing as
90
Mr. Ed.
minutes.
Should I make it a horse instead?
I think you should pick.
Should I ask ChatGPT to make a horse version of me?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like an American Girl horse. Like make it into like a doll horse version of you.
We'll see. Well, you guys will know before I do what I chose to do.
Hard to say.
Tune back.
But they do talk about Penny, and I originally had written a note and then I deleted it, that I was like, this first chapter is kind of just rehashing everything that's happened so far. We're worried about the tea and the loyalist tensions.
Previously on Felicity.
Yes, this first chapter, like not a lot happens. They go to Miss Manderley's for their lessons, and they smell and stink like horse, both girls. So Annabelle kind of makes like a face at them when they come in. And Felicity finishes her sampler, which is cute. And then she says, like she's ready to move on for like difficult stitchery. And Felicity's like very excited about that. So what a turn for her.
Yes.
Then like it's like a beautiful spring day out, and it comes time for music practice, but just for Annabelle.
I didn't get this necessarily, why girls can only learn music at a certain age.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. I wasn't sure if it was like, it felt like maybe
it's like a womanly task.
I was gonna say that, or like I kind of wondered if it was just a way to prevent her from needing to teach like all of them at once, too.
Maybe.
Like slowing down and being like, well, you focus on these other skills. This is something you can earn and like learn towards.
Maybe, but even I don't know. I felt like we'll get to. I think I mentioned it later, so we'll talk about it then. But it just felt a little bit like it's like, why can't, if someone was musically talented,
Why wouldn't you encourage the talent earlier?
Yeah,
instead of just letting it like sit.
Yeah,
I agree. But Annabelle, not musically talented. She sounds
icky,
disgusting. She's not very toneful. She's very bad.
pitchy.
And I did say
Pitchy and bitchy.
They say she's playing a guitar. Yeah, pitchy and bitchy for sure. I'd wear a top that says that to karaoke.
It'll be part of our uncle, dad, father T-shirt line.
Yeah, that's
Pitchy
good.
and bitchy.
Pitchy and bitchy. Yeah, one can be like in cursive, and the other one can be like bold font.
Yeah, like angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a scribble pen. I did say the guitar looks like a lute, and I agree with your note that you think it's a lute also, and that they simplified it.
I did.
Did you look it up?
I did look it up. Guitars in the modern shape, the shape that I think we have now. Again, guys, I look up things quickly and skim it. So if you're a guitar enthusiast and I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But the modern guitar that we use is a version of the Spanish guitar, which was popularized in 1850.
Oh, okay.
So guitars were around and they looked more lute-like. But I don't know what the difference between a guitar and a lute is.
Does it have to do with the strings? Amount of strings? Or the sound?
I think lutes have more strings than a guitar. So if it's 6 strings, then it's a guitar. Yeah. If it's more strings, then it's a lute. But it does look more lute-like because lutes will have more decoration and have like a narrower, like a deeper shape, a deeper butt,
bowl,
but like a narrower, yeah.
Very interesting. Anyway,
if you're loudest, let us know if we got that right.
Yeah, tell us. Sound off in the comments.
We get 20 comments.
Yeah. And Felicity starts to yearn for the guitar.
New year unlocked.
She's like, ooh, that's a womanly skill I'd like to learn.
That's something I could do.
Annabelle, if Annabelle's this bad, surely I can be better than that. And she's like, Annabelle, couldn't I please just hold it?
Touch it.
And she's like, ooh, no. You're filthy and disgusting, and you're stinky, and no, I mustn't. And also your hands are disgusting. And she does look down at her hands, and her hands are like grass stained.
Yeah, they have grass stains on them.
But also, like, those are the types of, I know they're children, and this is like very mundane of a complaint to have, but A grass stain is like set into your skin. It's not gonna, if I had a grass stain and I rubbed it in this chair, it's not coming off.
I know. No, Annabelle's just being petty.
Yeah, she's a
pitchy and
bitch.
bitchy. So,
Think about that.
Banana Bell.
Banana Bell. Snippy Annabelle. She could keep that precious guitar. I said this whole chapter exists to just kind of set up the plot of the book. Guitar.
To tell us what happened before and what will happen next.
Stuff's coming down the road.
Valerie is feeling a little lazy this chapter.
Girl, I feel like she's feeling lazy the first 2 chapters of this book. Chapters 3, 4, 5, lots of stuff happens and they are very interesting. Chapter 1 and 2, meh, like fine. I was like, no, Valerie, you're losing me a little.
You've had me in your clutches.
You've had me in a vice-like grip around my throat since I read the first book, and now I'm like, you're showing your colors again.
You're mollying a little bit.
You're mollying a little, and we don't like that. I was reading chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Posie.
Posie.
Which is a cute name.
And it's a cute name.
And spring has sprung. Part 2. Felicity loves to be in her garden, which I also thought was cute.
Yeah. I like how she has her own specific garden.
Yes. I like that she like gets to kind of curate what she wants. Probably, again, the benefit of having a shopkeeper father. But it says it later, and I'll just say it now, that her grandfather sort of like gave her tips to put like nice smelling flowers and stuff near the house to tend to. And then your other like things like your plants and other like
put them near the
roughage.
kitchen for convenience.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
I thought it was very cute. I have like garden boxes at my new place, and I have been prepping them so that I can go to like a nursery and get a bunch of stuff.
But it's already 100 degrees out.
Yeah, I know. I am like, I've been researching like hardiest like garden plants to have so that they have a fighting chance at surviving.
There's a fun fact too. My the colonial tea room that I worked at in Annapolis.
Yeah.
We had a similar setup, garden plants, and we also planted the herbs in them close to the kitchen so that we could grab the mint when we needed to for the bar.
Oh, see, that's
the
charming.
mint and the basil were like outside the cellar door, so you could just walk up and grab the mint.
I love that. That's cute.
It was cute. It smelled really nice.
Oh yeah, I love a good fresh herb.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious. So anyway, she loves it, and as she's like out in her garden, oh my god, one really bitchy weed.
Oh yeah, but she's like fascinated by it.
Yeah, she's like, I've torn this out, I've cut it down.
I love a challenge.
It keeps coming back.
She's like, hey.
And ooh, here's Ben.
Ben's always around for Felicity.
And I said, Ben, oh, he doesn't do it here, but Ben loves to grin at her. Okay, he grins at her a lot in this book. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying.
It's like one time I had a guy friend who was constantly winking at me.
No.
And it was like really like quick. And then one time I thought, I was like, he must be winking at everyone. And I was in a group of people and I was like, isn't he always winking? And they're like, never seen him wink in my life. And I'm like, oh.
And you're like,
it's just because I'm pretty. Just because I'm such a pretty girl.
Just like a little less.
Either that or he had an eye twitch that everyone else but me was ignoring.
I do. Sometimes you have to
wonder if someone's got a little twitch or if they're.
Sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes you have to, Sometimes you have to be like, are you winking?
So this is a wink. That's twitch.
Well, I like couldn't wink for the longest time. So like now when I wink, I like do over dramatize it. I'll be like,
can you wink with both eyes? I can wink better with this eye.
Yeah, I was just say, I think my like left
this one's
eye,
more exaggerated.
My left eye is more charming, like, and my right eye is like, I have to think about this.
Oh really? Are you left-handed?
No.
Oh. I can wink with my right eye like.
I hope the video records properly.
Yeah, I hope the video records for this one.
This is gonna make a great reel. Anyway, there's really no winking in this book, but completely irrelevant sidebar, which we've never done before in our entire lives.
We're always on track.
So
guys.
write that
The episodes for these 60-page books aren't sometimes pushing 90 minutes.
Well, no, and they never have. Anyway, Ben's basically like, you should let that weed grow. It's feisty. Okay, Caroline just winked at me for those of you who are listening to the audio. Do you think she thinks I'm pretty?
I do, but anyway.
Oh, guys, got the camera.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Workplace harassment.
I'm filing an HR complaint. You guys, I'm so sorry if you enjoyed American Girl Talk.
Guess what? The HR team is me.
this is not the end of the podcast. She's like, I like it. It has heart and spirit and it keeps coming back and it's stubborn. But I know grandfather would not approve. And I want grandfather to think my garden is in fine order. And he's like, okay, sure. And then Ben is like, ooh, straightens up and he shouts out for a boy.
Yo, Isaac, he says.
Yo, Isaac. Okay. Let's take a moment here and talk about Isaac, the Isaac of it all. Here's Isaac's introduction sentence, quoted directly from the book. Isaac was a free black, just a little older than Ben. So,
He was a free black man.
yes, I think there is a critical word.
The word missing.
Missing in our collective opinion.
It's tough.
It's tough. But I did want to note, though, that I thought it was interesting because he is the first outright acknowledgement in the book
Of slavery.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Directly, like, and especially the concept of like free and or freed slaves. And I wanted to ask your opinion because the one thing that I thought was interesting in that sentence, even though I think that it should have the word man in it, is it doesn't say freed. So I was wondering if you thought that he had always been a free man in the colony, or I suppose it doesn't necessarily matter for this book, but I thought it was interesting because we know that there are like slaves living and working, potentially even in the Merriman house.
I think he is escaped potentially because it says that he lives just with his brother. He's not with his family, which to me implies that and if he's with unless his brother is significantly older than him, which they didn't give us whether it was an older or younger brother, but even if Ben's 15, he's slightly older, let's say he's 17, he's young. And if it's just him and his brother living somewhere, that would imply to me that they were separated from their parents at some point. Or their parents could be dead, but that just seems the simplest answer is probably the right answer. And I think that they probably escaped slavery. If they're in Virginia, that does seem a bit bold, I guess.
Well, he says later, so
yeah.
Later in the book, it's interesting because this is the Peek into the Past does not talk about. The reason we're talking about this here is the Peek into the Past does not talk about slavery.
Yeah.
Or like what it would be like to be a black person in any context living in colonial Williamsburg at this time. I just thought it was very interesting because anyway, later in the book, he says like it's very dangerous for like a black man to be outside at night and to get caught. Like it wouldn't end well for me. Yeah. So even though like he and his brother like do like the Merriman's laundry and like other people in town and like do essentially operate their own business in the town, they're still not like totally.
No, the Merrimans are paying them less than they would if they were white.
Yes, absolutely.
If they were free white.
And I did feel like it was inadvertent confirmation or indirect confirmation, like we already suspected, that the Merriman's workers are not free.
No,
that they are slaves.
Well, there's something else that I want to mention later on too that we'll get to. Okay. But my note was that I hope Isaac is conspiring to help Marcus and Rose escape to freedom.
Yeah, it'd be kind of.
I don't think this is a bold statement, but I think the Merrimans are probably decent people, but it seems more like because it's a household instead of like a plantation, which Grandpa owns.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
It sounds like it's forced help in the house, because even the art in the first page of this, Rose is helping Mom do stuff. Rose isn't doing it alone. Mom is doing it too.
And I think she's the mom's midwife in the book where her mom has another kid.
Oh,
too.
That crazy picture?
Yeah, that insane picture.
So I do think like that. I think that's why they say maidservant and manservant, because it's like an easier cop to be like, well, they do just like Marcus does the
like the errands and the
stuff like that.
The work I don't want to do, basically.
Exactly. So it is kind of like I think that's how they're able to toe the line a little bit. The fact that she's not like in Monticello, living on a plantation, but they are definitely slaves.
Yes,
it's just the nature of Virginia at the time. Like I said, I did think it was interesting that if Isaac is free, he didn't go up past Maryland. But I think, and again, we'll get to it probably a little bit more with Addie. I think the kind of intensity, and like, again, if you're listening to this and I'm wrong, correct me, because this is from memory, but I think the intensity of kind of rounding up former slaves and trying to bring them back down kind of peaked around like the 1820s and stuff. I think not that it was lax at all in the colonial era, but I don't think it was as much of an issue. So if it happened a few times and someone was free, then you just kind of let it happen.
Sure.
I think it really started getting into that intensity of like the slave like hunters basically doing things came around in the 19th century, which led to some of the tensions of the Civil War.
Yeah.
So I do think that's kind of why he's like, don't leave me alone. Don't take me out at night. Like that's when the bad things happen.
I won't be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think like but I did kind of get the impression that he was not born free.
I don't disagree with you.
So
anyway.
But also Felicity might not even know.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting. First of all, whack intro sentence.
Yeah.
But then intriguing the way his character plays out in the rest of the book.
It's like we've probably released it at this point, but we're doing a little retcon episode that's short, just like 15 minutes, already out, hopefully, about some of the changes they've made to the books. And so we'll be interested to see if they make changes to Felicity, but it's the similar energy of Kirsten getting on her horse named Blackie and saying, I'll ride as fast as an Indian, where you're just like, so many different words could have been used in the sentence and it would have been fine. Or even just an additional word in a free black man, you know?
Yeah.
So
Then we wouldn't have blinked an eye in the way that, like, it made me stop when I was reading.
Valerie, you forgot a word.
I don't know.
But I do think one thing we have to kind of think about with this is we are basically in Felicity's head.
Oh, yeah.
So I think some of the language they have to take and some of the like lack of acknowledgement, I think we talked about it in Meat, but some of the lack of acknowledgement kind of is per the era, I think, where it's not something that this girl who grew up in this world would ever think twice about, you know?
Correct.
So I do think there's a little bit of, I think that's when they try and use the peek into the past, sometimes for better or for worse, to explain a concept. If it's not a concept that's been explained to Felicity, that slavery is morally wrong. And if, for her intents and purposes, her family treats their slaves to her perception well, then it's not something she's going to think twice about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I think it lies with this whole situation.
I agree.
And that's your serious corner on American Girl Talk. Addie's going to be fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are being introduced to Isaac, and we learn. Oh, first of all, Isaac comes over, compliments Felicity's garden, tells her it's looking very fine, and she very happily is like, "Thank you very much." And then Isaac, Ben is like, "Oh, aren't you like a drummer in the militia?"
Ben's like really excited.
Ben is real militia.
Isaac's the coolest person Ben's ever met.
Ben is like, "Oh, you drum to communicate to the soldiers in the militia that I'd like to join, the militia that I'm thinking about all the time."
Militia. He yearns for militia.
He yearns for militia, and I suspect that's not going away. But it's very cute. Isaac's like, "Yes, like I am," and he's like, "Will you teach me how to play the beats?"
Yeah, he says it in such a way that was kind of felt a little modern, where he was like, "Can you teach me some beats? Like, can you drop some sick beats right here, right
Isaac's
now,
like,
Isaac?"
"Boy, can I?"
Picks
and
up
he's
two
like,
sticks.
Da-da-da. He's like, "I don't have my drum with me right now, but
Picket fence will do.
You guys are gonna love this." And then he teaches them a couple different drum beats that correlate to different messages that the militia like are
Sends
taught
to
to
each other,
understand.
yeah.
So like wake up or like danger, move forward, whatever.
Or like dinner.
Yeah. And they're like, "Wow, ooh la la, hee hee hee." And then they're
And
like,
Felicity's good at it.
Felicity's good. Felicity, musician.
Music girl.
Music girl.
Girl of many
horse girl.
talents.
Endless talents,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Except dancing.
Well, it seems like she did just okay at
Yes.
it. Well, when she has a beautiful dress.
No one noticed.
Just don't threaten her with a good time. But after they're having their drum fun, Ben like side-eyes Felicity. I think immediately he's like, whatever, she's not gonna know what we're talking about, even though this man is desperate for her to be politically involved.
And then conspiratorially like leans over and stage whispers to Isaac.
And he's like, "Did you hear that the governor has the key to the magazine?" Which, fellow listeners, is where they keep all their gunpowder.
The magazine.
The magazine.
I've been there.
Was it cool?
No, I was not interested in an armory.
Gunpowder and
Yeah.
such boy things.
No.
The foibles of war. Yawn.
Every time someone takes me to a magazine, it's against my will.
Snore City.
Ugh, boring boys.
Boring.
Icky.
Boys don't take Caroline to a magazine.
Take me to a gorge.
Mm,
No one's ever taken me to a gorge before.
not yet.
Not yet.
That's how you'll know they're the one.
I took myself there.
Look.
As a strong, independent woman.
That's right.
A man was in the car, but he was sleeping.
Well, that's not his business then. A man could never enjoy gorge the way a woman could.
So no armories or magazines, only gorges.
Only gorges. Okay. That seems fair.
Yeah.
Felicity continues to listen. Basically, there is a rumor that the governor is making plans to steal or take away, rather, all of the gunpowder from the colonists.
Why would he do that?
Why would he do that? Oh my God, stinky. Probably because he's afraid. Okay, I did think something funny in this book is that they're like, damn, the governor is afraid because the militia is like meeting in the town center to like do practice drills and stuff all the time.
They're doing like puff chest like dances
And the militia is different than the British soldiers.
no, this is
and
like
officers.
the guerrilla
Yeah,
militia.
So they're like, ooh, should we be worried that like the townspeople, the men 16 and older, are gathering to prepare
with
for
muskets and like doing military dances in public squares.
ambiguous reasons? But they're not ambiguous. Everybody knows it's coming.
Well, there's two sides to every story.
3 if you count the truth.
Or the woman's side.
Okay. Make it 4, Caroline. Anyway, Felicity's listening, and then she's like, but the governor would never be a thief. Okay, girl. Well, like, you don't really know him.
She has yet to experience, she's like, he invited me to his house to dance. He could never steal. But she has yet to experience politics beyond 2016. And she's like, he's a politician. He would never do anything corrupt.
She's like, oh, and me,
He could never.
who am I to know?
He's a celebrated governor.
And he's innocent.
He's only in a war with the Appalachian and the Shawnee as we speak. Never mentioned. Ne'er mentioned.
She's like, that's not relevant. Anyway, I think he's kind of a good guy, you guys. And I did think it's funny. Basically, Ben tries to explain to Felicity that in the time since she went to the dance lesson, things have gotten increasingly worse.
Tensions are rising.
Tensions are building.
Bum, bum, bum,
And he says, it looks as if the British are getting ready to fight. Yeah. His time is coming.
He's singing the Hamilton songs.
He's
to
writing
himself.
it. He's sending it through time to Lin-Manuel Miranda's ear.
It's about then.
Yeah. Surprise.
Why do you write like we're running out of time? We're getting into it. I can't believe it's taken me this long to,
I know. I
to
was
start
like,
dropping
you know what? I'm
Hamilton.
gonna let you have it because it's been a while. But yeah, Felicity once again becomes even more convinced that Ben is of concern,
Yeah.
which is incredibly funny because it ends up being her. If you like,
She's the problem.
she's actually the problem in the end in this
She
book.
overcorrects.
Oh, in an insane way. And look, like Ben is still going to be involved in the shenanigans in the rest of this book, but he really behaves himself. So anyway, Felicity's like, hope Ben doesn't open his stupid mouth, and then goes
I
home.
love Grandpa. He's never done anything wrong on his plantation.
Yeah. So, oops, when she gets home, there's Grandfather. Oh, that's the next day actually, but it doesn't matter.
Grandpapa.
Next page.
Yeah.
There he is, Grandfather with his horses.
And we hear specifically how Grandpa wears his hair in a queue,
Yeah.
which is like how you wear your hair to the bar when you wear it down at a bar in the summer, and then you put it up in the tiniest ponytail.
Yeah, and then you feel like a colonial man.
Yeah.
Off to send a letter to your beloved.
Humiliating.
Yeah, he does not wear a wig.
No, he's too bold for that.
He's too bold.
He's got hair left. Why would he?
Yeah, he's
He
fabulous.
flaunted.
He's a young king.
King George is his
King
man.
George. Surprise?
Complicated.
I bet you would be. Grandfather's very excited, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I have the honor of addressing my beautiful granddaughter, Miss Felicity Merriman." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, grandfather, please come look at my garden.
To my garden.
Look at my garden." And then they discuss his planting suggestions. And then her mom comes out and is back to being a buzzkill. Guess she's feeling well. Because she's like, "Oh my god, you must be so tired. Come inside."
The doll's spirit is like sitting out this one.
The doll's just watching from the window.
Yeah, if you guys look in the art,
He's
the
like-
holes in all the corners.
Yeah, you actually have to find it. It's the scariest part of the Felicity books. In the Celia edit reprints, the
daunting.
doll's hidden on every page.
And we include the word man after black.
Yes, we're rewriting the books, but better. And 2 edits. And we haven't even read changes yet, so it's tough to say if there might be more.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned
For Dane.
for danger. And her grandfather's like, oh, boy, am I just like such a spry guy who needs recovery by a garden. Felicity, show me your garden.
And mom's like, you want some hot chocolate? He's like, fuck no,
He's
I
like,
don't.
Huh?
In the
In
springtime?
this toasty springtime air?
In this humid Virginia air?
I'm wearing 7 layers of cotton right now.
don't
You
want-
think I want hot chocolate? No.
Get fucked, Mommy Mary.
Here's the thing. He's described as his eyes being full of like gentle good humor, but let me tell you something. This man has the spirit of the devil in him.
He's a Jekyll and Hyde a little bit.
He's a boiling kettle.
Yes.
He's whistling already. You just can't hear it yet. It's broken the sound barrier. But he's ready to
turn.
He will. Turn he will. So, grandfather's like, well, I have something to show you. So let's go over here. And then he gives them a fucking lamb.
Which I was like, lamb. I want a baby lamb.
Look, baby lamb, very cute.
Yeah.
Psycho thing to give children.
Right?
You-
That one was best.
Okay, the first one sounded like a goat.
Yeah, I know. I had to warm up.
The second one was a little lambier. Yeah.
The third one was like baby though.
Yeah, it was giving. I like that every time you make that noise, your body has like an immediate visceral reaction to it coming out of you.
It's like when I had to laugh as Archie.
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite video clips of you, Caroline.
No, it is a crazy gift, especially because they don't seemingly. They have a horse stable, but we haven't heard they have like a pen for animals.
Right.
They just have a garden.
I was trying to remember if they had like cows
They
or not.
must have like a small pasture.
I feel like they have like chickens and like 2 cows maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
At most.
I guess you could keep it where you keep the horses. I know they have those 2 horses that she's not that interested in.
That's true.
They have stables, so I guess you could keep a lamb in a stable, but don't they need to be free? I don't know. I'm not a lamb connoisseur.
It just feels frivolous.
feels like they're going to eat it one
Also-
day, if I'm being honest. Why else do you have a lamb?
Yeah. Also, I guess my feeling on the lamb is a lamb is only a lamb for a little bit.
And then it's a sheep.
Then it's a sheep.
Ugh.
And also, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think sheep are particularly solitary animals. I think that they are supposed to have companions
Yeah.
because they live in herds.
Yeah.
So, also kind of depressing the optics of having one lamb.
She has Nan, though. Nan and the lamb.
Yeah, but one of those is a human.
That's my children's book, Nan and the lamb.
I would read it to my child if I had one. But I don't. And there's no book.
No book.
And mom is almost dead. Anyway, they're like, wow, mom, see this lamb? And I just know that woman is crashing out in the shadows.
Can't believe my dad brought a lamb.
I know. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. I did say I was curious. I almost wrote a note about it, and then I got to the end of the chapter. It is the maternal grandfather. It's the mom's dad.
Yeah, she called him father at one point.
Mhm. I did say, kind of hot, Mrs. Merriman is married to a patriot.
Rebel.
Rebel. And then they named the lamb Posie.
And actually, lambs can develop human relationships and bond closely with their caregivers. So you can have a lamb,
Interesting.
and they can just bond with you.
I don't know, just something about it feels.
Open your mind.
It feels like the people who bond with dolphins and then are like, we can't keep talking to each other. It's bad for us. And the dolphins don't understand and then they die.
I'm reading all about having a pet lamb.
Okay.
What if I got you a lamb for your little yard?
I'm not interested.
Okay.
That lamb will disappear.
Goodbye, Posie.
Goodbye
Yeah.
and good night, Posie.
They name it Posie, which is a cute name.
It is very cute.
Good name for a lamb, too.
Great name for lamb. The lamb, not to be mentioned again for the rest of the book.
Nope, we'll never hear about that
Critically.
lamb again.
Because the garden plot is over. It's time to get fucking serious.
War is upon us.
But first, what if we talked more about a guitar?
Oh, yeah, guitar first.
Chapter 3, grandmother's guitar.
Perfect timing, Grandpa.
So Grandpa is hanging the fuck around. So Elizabeth starts to come over and hang out with them more and more in the garden that Felicity has been painstakingly curating, which is cute. And Elizabeth learns that Felicity's grandfather from England.
So they relate.
And she expresses kind of like a sadness.
And Felicity's like, I never thought Elizabeth had a life of her own and complicated thoughts.
I didn't know Elizabeth was capable of sharing feelings other than cowardice.
Because Elizabeth's like living her own Kirsten journey and is like, this is the first spring we've been in Williamsburg and I miss my garden in England. Because she's like making like twig art, I guess.
Yeah.
She's like making like a collage with the garden stuff and she's making it look like their old garden in England. And she kind of says, I really miss England sometimes. And Felicity's literally like, never fucking thought that she missed England. I never thought.
I didn't know
I
loyalists.
never asked her.
I didn't know loyalists had feelings.
She's like, I never thought to ask my friend about her previous life.
So it is kind of cute because she's like, I'm thinking about my friend in a new way.
But then Grandpa is nice here.
Yeah.
And he is like, I understand. I had to move here when I was younger too. And sometimes I miss England.
Yeah. Like it's quite an adjustment, like for like a little young lady.
So she feels heard for the first time. Maybe that's why she's been so shy. No one's asked her anything about herself.
But then she kind of makes a misstep conversationally. She did not learn well enough in Miss Manderley's yet. That you shouldn't bring up politics with a family member that's not your own. And even then, maybe sometimes.
Today, definitely don't.
Yeah, for sure not today. However, she's gonna. She brings up that her parents are loyalists. And that it's hard for her to know what to feel because some people in the colonies think that, like, oh my God, they shouldn't be attached to the king anymore.
And then she's like pointing to the Merrimans.
Somebody, but like hard to say who, but like someone that I know, like we both know, like really well. Or maybe like right under our noses.
Someone who has a store. And that little boy.
Not selling tea.
And maybe the daughter.
And immediately, Grandpa's like, no. All this talk against the king, fucking.
We should kill them, he says.
We should fucking murder them. They deserve to die and rot.
And Felicity's like, She just like moves her weeds around. Like.
And Felicity's like, good thing you didn't hear Ben and Isaac talking. So you know what? Again, even if Felicity fucks up later, she's keeping her mouth shut now.
Yeah.
When I think it is critically important.
Yeah.
However, Felicity is like, la 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 la. I don't want to hear anything else about all this stuff. I'm confused and I don't know how to feel. And I'm 9 years old and I've had enough. And then Ben goes off to see a friend, which I don't know who that could possibly be. Ben leaves and immediately Grandfather's like, he was like, I was waiting for that bitch to leave because I have some things to say to you guys. Better not trust him. He's sneaky. And her dad's like, no, like, he's a good boy. Like, I trust him. And Grandpa's like, I don't know, you can trust somebody whose business, is associating with the Patriots and being a general rabble-rouser and problem causer. And I was like, seems like Ben is, like, fine.
It seems like Grandpa's watching Fox News.
It seems like Ben is, like, a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, still a child. He's not even of militia age yet.
Yeah, he's like a 15 at most year old who's just like talking shit.
Yeah, he's dumb. He's a dumb kid. I know that they could become soldiers at 16, but like he's still a dumb kid for the time.
Yeah.
And so it's very silly. And then I wrote, two men with opposing ideals have as deep a political conversation as an American girl book can allow.
And I said it's giving kind of when Grand Mary and Corndog were fighting over women's rights, where it's like everyone's like kind of edging on tension.
It's like so close to outright saying like plainly what each stance was. Yeah. While like adding in the flavor of its characters having to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And also to children.
Which is fine, I guess.
It's
we
like,
just know more because we're adults.
Yeah. Basically, the back and forth is we have to honor tradition and the old ways. And then it's what if there were room for new ideas because we are in a new place, building a new land. And then it's balderdash.
And this is stuff and nonsense.
Stuff and nonsense.
Which we should say more.
I think so.
I love stuff and nonsense.
So it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like
They're getting heated, but mother knows how to change the tune.
Yeah, she loves to. Yeah, that's good. Sorry, it took me a second. It's crazy. She goes, "Wow, there's room for old and new, just like there's room for old songs and new songs."
Let's get singing, guys.
She sits her ass down at the piano in their house.
And goes, Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. And then they walk up and they go, Yankee Doodle, mama.
Yeah.
And then they're fine.
It does say, he and father were gentlemen, so they politely joined in the singing, and soon enough, the music soothed and cheered on everyone.
So, guys, next time you're in a tense moment, just start singing.
Yeah.
And the gentleman will join you.
The gentleman will join you. Well, if they're gentlemen.
If they're gentlemen, they'll join you.
And that'll be the test.
And it'll make them feel good.
It'll make them feel good. And I said, my new concept is karaoke therapy, where you bring whoever you're unhappy with and your therapist along to karaoke, and your therapist picks a song for you guys to sing together to solve your problems.
Karaoke therapy. I'm trying to combine it, but it's too hard. It's right there. Karaoke, that's what it is. Yes.
Gonna be.
I was combining it the wrong way, but you figured it out.
No, when you said it out loud, I was like, oh, wait, I think
karaoke?
Yeah. And I would do it. I think that kind of bangs. Honestly, every time I do karaoke, it's therapy. I always pick a song that's somewhere deep in my psyche at the time. Unless I'm just hitting the classics. That's different. Anyway, they sing. And then grandfather's like, oh, so I have another thing for you, Felicity.
Voila.
A fine, vintage, beautiful guitar from her grandmother, who's
deceased.
And this guitar is like 10 times more beautiful than
it has a
Annabelle's
rose on
guitar.
it or a flower of some sort.
And it's very, very beautiful. It says, yeah, it has a flower, whereas Annabelle's guitar only had a hole. One hole. So, boring.
And it has like a pink string ribbon so it can like sit on you, so you can go gallivanting around town singing. You don't have to hold it that easily.
That's right. You can be a real musician.
A real troubadour.
So it's very cute, and Felicity is like in like love with the guitar. Yeah. But Mrs. Merriman clocks her little freak daughter and is like, yeah, that guitar is not going fucking anywhere. It will have to stay
young
here in the house.
And too stupid.
Yeah, and you'll never learn to play guitar.
Yet.
And Felicity's like, oh my god, thank you, grandfather. Oh my god, like amazing. I love it so much. I'll never do anything wrong with it ever. Unless days pass and then it's April 20th. So file this away for your brain, listeners. Everything else we're about to talk about happens in the next 8 hours of this book. It's all insane. She has lost her patience, and she would like to bring her guitar to be tuned to Miss Manderley, and honestly, mostly just to shove it in fucking Annabelle's face.
She's a woman possessed.
Oh.
She's literally like, I know I shouldn't, but like it's like her hands went up. She couldn't stop it. It's like her hands were cold with like fear, but she's like, I cannot, must bring guitar, must tune guitar.
I must have it. And sure she does.
So she steals her family's guitar.
She takes it and she says, Ma, I care a lot more about making this dumb bitch jealous than I do about keeping the peace. And Miss Manderley's like, wow.
What a sick guitar, bruh.
This is fucking cool as hell. And she tunes it. And then Felicity's like, ooh, teach me a little song. And she's like, wow, what a beautiful tone this guitar has. La 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 la.
She strums.
She's playing bangers.
Wonderwall.
Yeah, she's whipping out Wonderwall by Oasis. She's hitting every note. And then she's like, guard this well. Like, this is a very nice guitar. Like, this is a work of art.
And then she says, yeah, when you're older, we can teach you to actually play guitar. And again, I'm like, why?
Just seems like you could do it now.
Yeah.
But you have a good ear and a firm touch, Felicity. Anyway, she's like, here you go. And then Annabelle's like, let me touch that guitar. And Felicity basically hits her with like the Uno reverse and is like, oh no, I really shouldn't. This is very precious and very valuable. And you should not put like your hands upon it.
And
Annabelle
I was worried
is
Felicity was
jealous.
going to let her touch it.
I know. Okay. I have such a problem with the guitar plot line in this. So file it away. Anyway. Chapter 4, Drumbeats. Anyway, all's well that ends well.
Drumbeats.
After the lesson, Felicity's invited over to the Coles home. for some general fun having and trickery and treats. However, her mom, the Cole's mom, is like, why the hell are you here?
Get out,
We have like
everyone.
British soldiers, like British officers here, like right now. So I don't know, like don't come inside. And Annabelle's like, shall I sing a song?
I was, shall I sing for them? Her mom's like, fuck.
Her mom's like,
No.
shut up. Oh no, no, please,
She's like, oh my god.
please God, my
Nightmare
worst
unlocked.
child.
Get upstairs, hide.
Well, yeah. So first she's like, you must be quiet as mice, and then she's like, actually, just go outside, go in the garden, fuck off, enough.
So Elizabeth and Felicity are out in the garden.
And they're singing and they're hanging out. And Felicity can hear like drums start up in the distance.
Yes.
And she's like,
More music for me. New music girl.
what? Ooh, what's that? And then she tells Elizabeth, she's like, ooh, well, you know what? That's the militia gathering. I know. I'm very smart and with it and culturally aware. And Elizabeth's like, oh, okay. And she's like, let's go see. And then Elizabeth's like, why don't we go hang out with Posie? Like, I don't want to go see the mustering of the forces. I also barely know what the word muster means. I'm 9.
She explains it like Molly explains militia terms to her friends.
Yeah.
She's like, a muster is when they all gather and do like little dances.
And I was like, yeah, you're right about what they're doing, but you're not directly right
she's
about
like,
what
it's just for fun.
about what that word means.
She's like, this is just like for a lark.
She's like, it's just like a little hee hee
foolish
ha
lark.
ha.
Just some men dancing as they do.
But Elizabeth is like, I don't think so. I don't want to go do that. And Felicity's like, okay,
Dad, we're
anyway. So they go in to town. And then Ben is there, of course, and he grins when he sees Felicity.
So he's grinning.
Mm-hmm. And then he says, I knew you'd come when you heard the drums.
And Celia's like,
I was like, I bet you did. And then immediately, like, my, like, hee hee ha ha kicking my feet about them was immediately overshadowed by Elizabeth being fucking annoying again.
she's too scared.
Okay, because nothing is actually, like, happening that, like, she's in danger.
But do you think she's nervous that someone will see her there and report back to her parents while the British soldiers are at their house?
I did wonder, but I also felt like the scene seems to describe that there's just a general crowd gathering to watch. Yeah. So it does feel like a fairly innocuous thing for her to get caught doing versus like...
But she's 9.
Yes, I don't know.
I agree with you about Elizabeth, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
Especially with her slight personality trait of being homesick for England.
Yeah.
And say that this must be very difficult for her if her best friend, her only friend who she has, is kind of pushing away into this kind of, oh, the independence thing is kind of cool. And at home, she's got this dark energy that's like, the loyalist is like, that's who we are. That's, don't you miss England? Would thou forsake England for thee, my dear Bessie? And I do think that is also like even more actually probably than for Felicity a complicated political dynamic to be a part of, where you see all these people in town becoming angry at what you perceive to be you, and you don't know how you feel about it, and your friend is also feeling like excited by this movement, and you feel like you're under attack, you know?
Yeah.
And so I do think a little bit of it's just like, I don't want to be caught anywhere that I'm not supposed to be, because I don't know, I'm going to get in trouble either way. I'm going to get in trouble if I'm here because everyone knows my family is a loyalist. And if the soldiers see me here, I'm going to get in trouble with my family for being at like a revolt. Because I do think they probably are getting, maybe not necessarily Elizabeth, but like the family, it seems like, is getting some flack for being loyalist, you know? So I do think there might be a little bit of like this scary, and I think she is a scaredy cat, and I do think she needs to grow a pair. But at the same time, I think there might be just an element of like, everyone already hates me in this town. Like, I don't want to be somewhere where like the like sentiment of hatred is rising.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I think like,
I'm overthinking it, but
no, I don't disagree with you. I think it's an interesting point that you're making. I think I'm always looking for like 10% more than these books are actually like capable of giving us, which is why it's fun to extrapolate wildly about what we think. No, I do agree with you. I think that that's definitely what it is. I think she is afraid of getting caught. Yeah. Like I said in the last book where she's like, I can't come to like even like, the store with you. Yeah. Like, it seems like the threshold is you're allowed to hang out with Felicity. and go to lessons, and she can come over, and occasionally you can go over to her, but at a certain point, you know, there are like lines, and like, yeah, I'm sure she has that paranoia. I think my note was I'd like her to be a little richer of a character, but we kind of learned in Molly's book that her friend characters all have kind of one vague character trait that they're not necessarily allowed to outgrow. I think like we only have one more main series book left.
We have Saves the Day, and then we have Changes.
Oh, LOL, you're right. There
Yeah.
are 2 more. I keep thinking this is a Saves the Day book because of what
It's
happens.
kind of Saves the Day-esque, yeah.
Yeah. So
what's she gonna do in Saves the Day?
I know. I was like, I feel like it must just be like an escalation, but anyway, we'll see when we get there. We'll get to it.
Well, we will.
I'm hoping, I guess generally, the reason I found her annoying in this book, even though I do agree with you, is I think like her father has an interesting scene later in this book where he sort of pushes back while still being like a loyalist.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it more there too. But I would have loved if like Elizabeth had gotten to like ride this scene out
Yeah.
a little bit more with them.
That's fair, yeah.
So that like she sort of witnessed at least like that it's not a scary thing. But
yeah.
anyway.
That's fair.
Anyway, you know, here's hoping Elizabeth grows a pair, as you said.
Finds her courage.
Anyway, so Elizabeth does run off. So it's just Ben and Felicity hanging out in town.
Which you all know that feeling when you're like, finally, it's just me and him.
But, hey, when your coward friend runs and stops third wheeling.
You're like, hee hee.
So they're just watching and everything, and Felicity like feels like kind of like a sense of pride. And like you said, like she's definitely getting swept up now in it. She's riding the wave. Ben won. And she's like, wow, like don't they look fine? And like, what do you think like is going on? And it kind of seems like he almost is like so entranced that he like doesn't hear her.
Yeah.
But then he's like, oh, like the militia's been practicing more. He just kind of starts explaining to her like, here's the sitch, sister.
Here's what's gonna happen.
They're
Here's
mustering
my
their
5-year plan.
Yeah. He's like, so first we're mustering the forces and then we're going to rally. And she's like, what do you mean? Like for a fight? And he's like, yeah, against the king's soldiers. And Felicity feels like, I will say Felicity does a good job of kind of making your point, which is like she realizes at least a little bit better why Elizabeth might be scared. Because she's like, vive la revolution. Or she's getting there.
Yeah, she will be.
And Elizabeth is like, and I think this is the first time, like, on page, we get to understand that Felicity understands that if this keeps moving forward, people will actually, like, die. And she has to grapple with the idea that they're all watching this and oohing and aahing. But the reality is that they're doing all of this so that when the time comes, they will be ready to actually fight and actually fire their guns and actually die for the cause that they're all, like, right now, just sort of, like, mustering their...
Yeah, she realizes it's not just pageantry, it's patriotism.
Buzzword. But yeah, I thought it was a good scene here. And Ben yearns for the militia.
As all boys do.
He really wants to join.
He's ready to join. He's just a boy who wants a gun in his hand.
Yeah, but oops, he's not allowed.
And he goes, yet.
Wink.
And he winks at her.
And I said, foreshadowing. Because he's an apprentice, so it's in his agreement very strictly that he is not allowed to join a militia because
he said, yet, wink.
Focus. Yeah, he loves to be like, he's like, well, I can't as long as ... And Felicity's like,
You're not gonna leave us, Ben. We've got such an arc to complete.
Mm-hmm. And she said, you're a part of our family. And that earns her a sad grin.
And a secret wink that wasn't written into the book.
Yeah, that one was secret and just for me and Caroline to read in between the lines on the pages. And after he gives her that sad grin, she goes, ooh, ADHD queen realizes she left the guitar at the Cole's house.
Which is how I felt when I left my water bottle at my gate the other night. On an airport. And I was like, how did I do that?
That's the
I
worst.
told someone earlier that day that I would never forget it anywhere.
I know, and then you're like, that's like the worst feeling is like, it's like that chill up your body.
Because we were still sitting on the plane. We were so close. I was like, it's too late.
Mm-hmm. But so she runs the hell off, and Ben is she's basically like, okay, I have to go to the Coles, but like if anybody asks, I wasn't there, and I didn't leave the guitar, and I never took the guitar out of the house.
It's still at home. Ha ha, bye.
And Ben's like, all right, run. So she runs. She gets to the Coles house. She's sneaking around the garden. She finds a guitar. And whoops, she suddenly realizes that Mr. Cole is walking the garden with a British officer.
With a British officer.
So she hides in the bushes to eavesdrop.
As she does. That's her secret pastime. I think she's eavesdropped in every single book so far.
Caroline sent me a text today that was like, how many images of her like eavesdropping are we gonna get?
I'm gonna compile them for us.
There's so many. And I'm hoping at this point I'll be disappointed if we make it through the next two and there's not one.
I'm gonna wait till we finish and then I'm gonna compile all the
See 'em
photos
all
of
together.
eavesdropping, yeah.
Okay, I love that. So she like crouches down and she's listening, and she realizes that they're discussing the exact plan that Isaac and Ben were talking about the gunpowder and the governor's plan to take it away. And basically, Mr. Cole is kind of like, look, like, oh, because the officer's like, well, we're gonna
Steal
steal
it.
it.
So they can't get it.
And then the governor's gonna say, ooh, we did it for the colonists' protection. And Mr. Cole's kind of like, look, man, like, I think that plan is stupid.
They're not gonna trust him if they do that.
And they'll know you're lying. Like, what protection from who? Themselves? Like, don't be stupid. And you know the tensions are rising, and you know that this will basically like make the problem worse. And the soldier's like, I beg your pardon. And he's like, oh, I just didn't know the governor was like, would stoop so low as to lie and steal. And the officer just kind of gets like flustered and upset with him.
So Mr. Cole might have some moral quandaries of his own.
I did think it was interesting. That's why I was like,
he's got a line.
Yeah. Which seems to be kind of the theme of the end of this book.
Yeah.
That everybody,
We all have a limit.
Everybody's got a limit to hit.
Limit to loyalty.
And where does it change? So he's basically like, whatever, I got your report. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Bye.
Off with you. And then Felicity's like, uh-oh. This is all riding on me. I simply must stop this from happening.
I gotta Paul Revere my ass back home, she says.
Okay. Thus begins my least favorite sequence of this book. She gets home with the guitar. Okay, when she was in the garden, it was damp, and the strap got all fucked up.
Just the strap.
Just the ribbon on the fucking guitar. The guitar is not broken or anything else. She did take it. Okay. Keep this in mind with what happens next. She runs home and she gets caught red-handed with the guitar, and everybody is fucking disappointed in her.
Livid.
Like, whoosh, explosively mad. And they're like, wow, I see now that you couldn't be trusted with this. You are like ridiculous and like so foolish. And I said, I really feel like maybe the heirloom in question should have been more precious. Or the guitar should have actually truly been broken.
Yeah.
Because their reactions to this are so insane, in my opinion, that it doesn't make any sense. Because she's just like, well, I brought it to the lessons and I'm sorry. And yes, again, the ribbon being damaged is a bummer. And like it is like a precious old thing. But she's also a child. I suspect that damage might have happened over time anyway.
It's an old ribbon. Yeah, ribbons get loose.
I was disappointed in like that this is the catalyst to why she's untrustworthy. Because
I know. Poor Lissy.
I don't know. It felt very foolish to me. Because then they get so mad at her that they're like, well, we're going to take the guitar away. You can't be trusted. Off to your room. You've like betrayed like our belief in you.
Yeah.
Again, very heavy things to say. And she's like, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. And he's like, I was wrong to bring the guitar here. And I see now you're too young to be trusted. And her father's like,
grandpa.
yeah. And her father's like, go to bed. Like, think about what you did. Again, the heirloom was not, the guitar is fully intact. Everybody is like acting like she just dug up her grandmother's grave. Felicity starts to go, but then she's like, oh shit, I have to deliver my message.
Yeah.
Big mistake, huge. her dad's like, okay, fuck, what? And she's like, repeats everything that she heard. And I said, her grandfather is possessed by the spirit of Jiggy Nye as he growls stop at her and hollers nastily. And then I said, is now the right time to acknowledge that his energy is actually fully giving, like plantation owner, which we
Yeah,
know
you
he
can
is.
see that he is a plantation owner here.
He has a deeply dark evil energy and a very nasty control habit, I would say.
Like I said, Jekyll and Hyde for Grandpa a little bit.
Yeah, because like the stuff he says is he says, you have shown yourself to be dishonest and irresponsible in the manner of the guitar. How could we possibly trust you? Stop this wild talk. 'Tis foolish, irresponsible, shameful. Stop it, I say. I am sorely disappointed in you, sorely. And her father's the one who actually says that you've shown yourself to be dishonest. How could we
Yeah.
possibly trust you?
They're all bad. Everyone's bad.
Like, and he says, don't disgrace yourself further by spreading wild falsehoods. I don't know. Look, I literally just wrote, I said, this is the most annoyed I've been about the dramatics of these books in a minute. She's 9, and I said, I'm so mad for her.
I know, poor Lizzie.
I think every child does something that
But I
they're
do
kind of not
think-
supposed to.
Yeah, and I do think you get kind of unjustly punished for those things sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a few things that even looking back, like no offense, Mom and Dad, that like I think about things that I did and I'm like, they really overreacted to that in a way that was kind of psycho.
Well, I was gonna say, actually, like, I definitely have had it with my parents, but my grandparents would do it a lot. Like, and I've talked about it like as an adult with my parents and been like, oh yeah, there are like times where like I would do like I'd mess up a chore or I wouldn't do something, and like the reaction from my grandparents would be like 10 times like what really like it warranted. So yeah, I agree. I
get it.
The guitar felt so frivolous.
Yeah.
So anyway, chapter 5. The Long Dark Night.
Bum bum bum.
Chapter starts with Felicity gave up.
She's always doing iconic things in her mind.
Another banger. Another banger. I said, I really have been having a laugh at this poor girl's quarterly crash outs.
Yeah. She's good at dramatics.
She's great at dramatics. And we love her. The next kind of thing she thinks about, she just cries and cries and cries in bed. And it says the burden of what she had heard them say was too heavy for her to bear. And I said, yeah, she's 9. The theme of this book.
Yeah. Almost 10.
Almost 10. 1 hours away, potentially, from turning 10. But she does know that she has to do something, and she knows that she can trust Ben. And I put a smiley face next to that in my outline. So she sneaks off to his room above the stable and uses a secret drum code to wake him up.
Which I can't believe she remembered, but props to her.
No, but I love it. Also, I feel like if you were a boy locked in your stable room in at night and you heard mysterious rapping on the door.
All right, this is the other point I wanted to make real quick.
Yeah.
So Ben sleeps in like a room off the stable, and Felicity has to rap because she doesn't want to wake the horses or Marcus, which to me implies that Marcus sleeps in the stables.
Yeah.
So there's that. That I just wanted to say.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out if it's like, yeah, it feels bad. Also because it seems that Ben has like a full room
Yeah.
with like a lock and privacy.
Let's hope there's 2 rooms.
Yeah, let's hope.
Let's dream a little dream.
And dream a little dream for Marcus. But yeah, so she drum ba 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 whatever. I'm not sure that the rapping wouldn't also wake up Marcus though.
Maybe he does have his own room then, because it was a quiet rapping.
Right, so if like she was yelling,
Yeah.
it'd wake everybody up. Anyway, things a small child's POV will never tell us. But she tells him everything and is like, we like must go away. Like, you run to the magazine, and he's very like, Lissy. I was like, okay, call her by her nickname. And she sends him off, and she's like, we don't have any time to waste. So he runs off to the magazine to go pry and watch and make a commotion should anything happen. And Felicity runs off to go get Isaac. Okay, so she runs through town till she gets to what's described as like the back of town, basically, like all the way to the back streets to where Isaac is. And it does say he lives in a shed attached to the back of a house with his brother. And she's like whispering into the door, like, wake up. And he's like, what the
Actual
fuck is this small white girl doing outside of my door? And she's like, you have to come with me. Like, the Marines are going to steal all the gunpowder and I need you to drum and wake everybody up. And Ben's already there. And he's like, okay. I said, she learns a lesson, kind of, but she really just, like you said, brushes it off about the implication of racial dynamics in colonial Williamsburg.
Yeah, she's like, anyway, it's more important than your life.
Okay, I did wonder a little bit, though. So he says, it is very dangerous for a black person like me to be seen on the streets in town at night. If I were found, it would not go well for me. And Felicity says, I know, said Felicity, but you must trust me, Isaac. We've got to stop them from stealing the powder. Please, you must help. Okay, this is me putting more on this book than is really there. But I did wonder a bit if he was probably weighing the pros and cons of if he is seen, like, out at night on his own versus if he is seen and encountered, like, arguing with a little girl in the middle of the night.
He does put on a cloak to hide himself.
Yes. So I did think that there was something to be said for you probably have to weigh the odds of if I keep saying no to this child, she might get
Cause a stir,
more
yeah.
worked up and wake up the people in the house that, like, I live attached to.
Yeah, I think so.
And if somebody is out to get me, it might be bad.
Yes, I think so.
So anyway, they go over there. Nothing's happening yet. They sit in silence.
It's like the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown for a little bit.
It is very much the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Felicity starts to doubt if she'd even had good information or not.
She's like, all this for nothing.
She's like, all this for nothing. But, clack, clack, clack.
Noises.
Turn of the wheel. Here comes a wagon. A cart, rather.
Oh no, they're stealing the magazines.
It's happening just as it was foretold.
Ammunition.
Also kind of insanely, they just, like, let her come along. The boys. They don't, like, send her home or anything.
No.
They do boost her up.
So she can see, and she's like, they are in fact stealing.
Whoops, there it is, it's happening. And she's like, get that drum going, Isaac.
And he's like,
and he goes, rap-a-tap-a-tap.
My cloak all the way over me. And he's like,
he whoosh, unfurls. So he, he starts to wake people. And then once he's done his bit, he's like, he makes eye contact with Felicity and just, like, goes home. Which,
smart man.
Yep, you know what? I get it. But Isaac begins to drum, and then Felicity run out into the streets and start calling out to the townspeople. And
they're stealing the ammunition.
They're stealing, come out, hurry. And a mob gathers.
Nice.
And the mob is angry.
As they are wont to be.
As they are wont to be. Revolution.
You're the revolution.
And Felicity's dad is also, like, awoken and rides out there.
He's like, what the dickens are you doing out here?
Hey, what the fuck?
You rascals?
Go home.
Get out.
We're going home.
He's like, we just had to. And he's like, I know.
And then the sequence kind of ends.
And she wakes up cozy in her cute little 4-poster bed.
At, like, noon.
She snoozed.
She hit. Defending it, the honor of America, tough.
Girl got to sleep.
She got to sleep. She puts on her little birthday dress. And I wrote,
I like how she doesn't think for a second that she's in trouble in this sequence too. She's like, she's like, I broke my family guitar. They all think I'm lying, and then I snuck out and started an angry mob in the town. But it is my birthday, so let me put on my flowered apron.
Yeah, I look fabulous. My little pink dress.
She did look cute.
She does look cute. Her birthday dresses. All her outfits have been pretty good so far.
She's got great looks.
She's got great looks. We love her. When she comes downstairs, Felicity, before she goes downstairs, kind of like in between, her father, she's like, will I be forgiven? Will I be trusted again? And her dad's kind of like, I mean, I forgive you, but your grandfather might, like, need some coaxing. He's certainly conflicted.
His loyalty was tried by the governor doing something dishonest.
Because how could this have happened?
How could an honest man of politics do something so shady?
How could this have happened?
No one's ever done it before.
No one's ever done it before.
No one's ever been in the Telegram group chat making lies.
Yeah, nobody's ever added a journalist to the wrong chat and then said a bunch of incriminating things and then lied.
It just doesn't happen in America.
It's never happened here.
Never has, never will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a grandfather anti. He's, like, not a good character.
He's a complicated historical figure for me. We'll get into it at the end.
Okay. Slay. I'm excited. to hear what you have to say. He gives her a vase filled with flowers.
The scariest vase I've ever seen in my entire life.
If somebody gave me it in my house, it would be in the garbage. For the audio onlys, imagine a puffy shell and then give it like a little curved base. But then from the puffy shell, there are 5 like Mario green pipe looking things, but the whole vase is white. And in each of those 5 little pipes,
You put some flowers.
some weird flowers.
It's called like a quinton or something.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It sent a chill through my bone when I saw the photo.
It's ugly. But he does rip out her weed,
And put it in it.
put it in
Which
there.
I liked.
It's cute. He says that basically he thinks something so determined to grow should be respected. And he thinks that somebody as brave as her should be forgiven a mistake. So I did like that. Also, he gave her a new replacement ribbon for her guitar.
Easily.
And he's like, I'm sure now you'll keep it more safe than ever. Ha 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 ha. And that's the end.
And yeah, that was her birthday. Happy birthday, Felicity.
Happy birthday, Felicity. Jesus Christ. So anyway, looking back, we're not again gonna talk that much about the exact historical things that are happening, so much as we get into some vagaries about families in the colonial times. I did think it was haunting that they said Felicity's family would have been smaller, on the smaller side, with 3 kids, because most would have had like 8 or more. Because usually several of these children died.
Yep. That's why you had a lot of kids. Not because of like
Roll the
anything
dice.
other than just like odds.
Yep. Yeah, you're hoping like at least 2 of them make it. And then I said there's a lot of miscellany on the horrors of childbirth and rearing in the 1770s. Basically, women would have their babies. White women would have their babies, and then they'd rest, and hopefully recover. But
For like a month.
But maybe they wouldn't.
Maybe they get sepsis and die.
Yeah, maybe they get sepsis and die. Maybe the baby would die. Who knows what would happen? As it says very briefly, slave women and other working mothers usually could not rest for so long. Thanks. And then it says, today most women are active after their children are born.
Because they got to work and we don't have maternity leave.
So you're saying it's worse even now than it was for colonial women? And then christening babies. There is a really hilarious pudding cap image that it showed that babies would wear. And I think I'm going to get those all for my friends.
Yeah, little soft hats that when
Yeah.
you bash your head on things doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah, just
Your little
keeps them
soft cap.
safe. Yeah,
Your pudding cap.
I think some of my friends maybe need it.
I think I could use one.
Yeah, it could be
For
cute.
kickball. We could get our whole
We
kickball
should
team
get them
pudding
for
caps.
kickball. That's pretty cute.
Nate wouldn't wear it.
No, he doesn't
Nate,
have any
single
fun.
optometrist on our kickball team.
It talks a little bit about toys for children and how they really didn't still kind of have them in these times as much as like they have
Modern kids do,
as
yeah.
much as modern kids do. And then it talks about like boys would learn trades and they were required to start training in the militia when they turned 16, unless they were black or apprenticed, like Ben. And then it ends really quickly by saying that the raid of the magazine really happened in Williamsburg. And that this is what I noted, I think, earlier, which is this is the first time I recall that looking back has directly referenced that a plot point that you read about in the book actually happened, even though there have been other things that were referenced that really happened, like the Yorktown Tea Party, etc. So I thought that was interesting because the funniest part is it goes, who know who actually sounded the alarm, but it could have been brave young people like Felicity and Ben and Isaac.
Liberty kids.
I said, these books are really a hoot sometimes.
Well, and I said, I feel like the Felicity Peek into the Past have been more self-referential than other ones.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they've been like, imagine all the things Felicity would have seen. I feel like the other ones didn't do that.
No, I feel like they were just like, this was what was happening then. And then sometimes it'd be like, Kirsten would have been depressed. And then like, Samantha would have gone to school.
Yeah, they kind of like school teach you with Felicity's a little bit more, it feels like.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, put yourself in Felicity's shoes, you know?
You're there.
Yeah.
So wrapping it up, I didn't not like this book. Actually, talking it out with you, I liked it a lot more. I do still feel like it was a little oddly paced.
Yeah.
I think the first 2 chapters could have been like adapted a little differently just to get like a little bit more, or like introduced, I don't know. Yeah. Some of the dramatics a little sooner. I said I hate that she got gifted a lamb, but then in parentheses I wrote merchandising. Will the lamb come back?
Capitalism, baby, it won't.
And then it said, TBH felt like the narrative might have been a little better suited to a Saves the Day title. So I'll be very interested to see how she saves the day.
Me too.
And then I said, I'm sick of these books having a happy birthday in the title when they are be better served as just being spring stories so that the birthdays don't feel so shoved in.
And I agree with that. I remembered absolutely 0% of this book, if I'm being honest. So I'm not even confident I read it initially. I know Felicity I didn't own, and they were hard to find at the library. So it's entirely possible that I never was able to get my little clammy hands on Happy Birthday, Felicity. And I agree. The birthday books are, like I said at the beginning, are kind of like the lesson books a little bit, where it's kind of give or take. Like they're a little bit ham-fisted into the theme they want. But I did want to say, technically, Samantha is the only girl who does not get a pet in a birthday book because Jip is her uncle's dog, which feels a little bit more of an excuse for why he only shows up occasionally. But yeah, Kirsten gets the cat that we assume died. Molly gets Bennett. There's Jip, and then now there's Posie, but no one's ever kept these pets.
No.
And I don't remember if Kit gets something, but Kit starts out with a dog, so I don't know what Kit's gonna get. She has her family has a basset hound.
Oh, cute.
Which is cute and so nice.
That's adorable.
And then I'm struggling with Grandpa because I think he's in the next 2 books. Because I think like in that time period you would stay for like months when you came to stay. I think he's nicer, maybe in the next 2 books. I think he's more of like a benevolent grandfather.
Yeah.
So I don't because I remember being like very fond of her grandfather.
Okay. Interesting.
But again, that could just be me as a child reading. And so I'm interested to see now that I did have more of an opinion of you. Like when the guitar thing happened, I was like, oh, but Grandpa's gonna be nice about it. And then he like flipped a shit. I was like, oh wow, I don't remember that. So he's a complicated historical figure for me, and so I'd like to see what happens if he is in the next one.
Well, I think you're right because I know on Reddit I've seen people reference. I'm pretty sure they go to his plantation.
Maybe in Changes.
I think in one of the books.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to see.
We'll have to see.
But overall, I enjoyed it. I like that we're kind of barreling into the Revolutionary War. And it does feel like the clip and the pace of these books is at least like I do like that they span a few months, very obviously, whereas sometimes the timelines in the other girls' books were a little bit less clear. So it does feel more like we're naturally progressing through a revolutionary time period. And I do like that the tension is ratcheting up each book in an obvious way. Like the first one, there wasn't really anything because you were asking if like I thought the streets would be safe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of clear that they're getting less safe. So I think that's kind of a nice way that they're showing this.
Oh, I agree. Well, I like Felicity because I like that through her, you see how like a kid can like become
radicalized.
Well, yeah. You know what? As I was saying, I was like, I'm going to say it anyway. Yeah, but like,
well, how kids notice these things.
Yes, and how they pick up on it. And like even though she is like, oh, I want to be on my family's side, she's also like, but I love my friend Elizabeth. And like my friend Elizabeth's family are loyalists and Grandpa's a loyalist. But I really like hanging out with Ben, and Ben like really wants to join the militia. So it's cool to see her like get all these feedback or like feed.
Yeah, this horse feed.
Horse feed
of revolutionary oats.
Yeah, she's eating her revolutionary oats for breakfast. They make you strong. Because she's more interesting to read about that way because she actually is engaging with it, even though like there's not literally like a battle happening in like their town.
Yeah.
But there are things happening that are cranking up to a bigger thing that we all know about as like Americans. Whereas like with Molly, you know, I feel like she would have been a little bit more interesting if it had felt like she was actually motivated to like contribute to her household or like do other things or do things that like not out of spite and for like recognition, but out of like a deeper understanding of like maybe she watched a news report and it like changed her mind about something, or she got to speak to her dad. Like
you wish she was more patriotic.
Honestly, kind of, yeah. It would have been a little bit more interesting.
I agree, yeah.
But I understand that like every girl doesn't have to be the same.
She had more skin in the game.
Yeah, so it's interesting to watch Felicity kind of go through like
I agree,
grappling with it. So
I'm excited to see what happens in Saves the Day because
I know
how's she gonna change it up. You know,
I'm pretty sure it's a Bensident.
I hope so.
Here's hoping. Send this to somebody who loves to drum.
Send this to somebody who broke an instrument.
Send this to somebody whose grandfather screams at them.
Send this to somebody who was unjustly accused of doing something silly as a child and suffered a great punishment for it.
Send this to somebody who loves to eavesdrop in the shadows and give you all the hot gossip.
Share this with your friend who needs to be just 10% braver.
And send this to your friend who you want to be radicalized.
And you know what? If radicalization happens to them by listening to the American Girl Talk podcast, like, comment, share. Let us know your thoughts on Felicity, on the use of certain phrases to describe certain people. If it's her thoughts, if it's just bad writing, we'd love to know what you think. And we appreciate you guys, as always, for listening. And we'll catch you next time on Felicity Saves the Day.
Whee!
So goodbye for now.